When we go to sleep at night, that's the time when our bodies and our brains recover the energy that was spent during our busy day. Many of us simply experience dreams when we sleep, or maybe even a quick period of nothingness followed by a sudden burst of consciousness. But unfortunately, some of us aren't so lucky. Instead, there are those that are plagued by vicious, unending nightmares. Nightmares so deep that they simply cannot wake. Sometimes these nightmares can be so bad or so intense that even if the person experiencing one such nightmare were to try and wake up, they would instead find themselves paralyzed, completely unable to move, and trapped inside their otherwise lifeless body. As if that wasn't bad enough, many have claimed to see some sort of evil entity lurking in the shadows as they lay paralyzed on their bed. During this time, the entity has the victim completely at their mercy, and they are left to helplessly watch and wait to see what this horrific figure might do to them. What I've just described to you is a phenomena known as sleep paralysis, and about 4 in 10 people are bound to experience this at some point in their life. So in case you end up one of those unfortunate few, and would like to know more about what to expect during a period of sleep paralysis, then pour yourself a drink and join us as we explore this topic and more in today's paralyzing episode of Tipplers 2 Cents. Now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord, my soul, to keep. Drinkers and thinkers, and welcome back to episode 21, season 2 of Tipplers 2 Cents. I'm your host and creator, Chris Walters, and joining me as always is my co-host and co-creator, Sean Knox.
Oh yeah, I'm so fucking ready.
Thank you all for joining us today. We have a very creepy episode in store for us today. We are talking about sleep paralysis, night terrors, and any other sleeping disorders that we can fit in. Which are some very, very unpleasant experiences. If you've ever had the displeasure of experiencing one of these phenomena yourself, you know how truly awful and frightening it is. But before we get started on all that, I just want to take a minute to address a few things, both past and present. Mainly discussing the fact that we had to, delay the start of season 2, and for that, I'm very sorry. That's all on me. I unfortunately took a camping trip just before Christmas, and I guess during that camping trip, one of the people that we went camping with had COVID, and I ended up catching it from them. So, unfortunately, I spent Christmas and New Year's infected with COVID, and even by the time that we were going to be recording for season 2, I was just still sick. I would have been coughing and trying to clear my throat and dealing with the stuffy nose the entire time. Just wasn't going to be ideal. So again, I'm sorry, but your boy had the viddy. He got over it. I'm fucking healthy as a fucking horse now. No, I'm good though. I feel better. And honestly, I just want to give that, as like a thing for you guys. If you guys are scared of getting COVID, I'm not trying to downplay it, but I'm just saying it was probably like the easiest shit I've ever gone through.
But he's also like 28 years old and perfectly healthy.
Healthy as a motherfucker, so no, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, don't be too afraid of it if you're, healthy and all that stuff. I know they say it affects people differently, but I shouldn't say I'm the healthiest person. I eat pretty shitty and I never work out or anything, so could be, a worse candidate, could be a better candidate, but I did fine. Don't worry too much about it. Anyway, I hope everybody had a good Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that. I also had my birthday in between there, so it kind of sucked, but I was sick for my birthday. That also played into, us having to delay the episode and stuff too. I was busy with a lot of shit going on. We had Xmas, New Year's, my birthday, just a ton of stuff, having COVID, so there was a lot of things going on. But also, not just talking about stuff that has happened, but stuff that's going to happen. Cinematography, we got the first episode recorded. I feel pretty good about it. Can't wait to let you guys hear it. We're hoping that we'll be able to get that out the following Monday that you hear this episode. So I believe that is going to be, let me check the calendar here. That should be the 18th. So hopefully we make that time frame. If not, I apologize. But again, just a lot of stuff might get delayed and shit like that.
Yeah, a couple of the things, like with uploading it, it gets a little bit complicated because we have to resubmit it to all of like Spotify and Pandora and stuff like that. So it probably will be available on a couple of them on the 18th. But if you're listening to it like on Pandora, and if it's not available on there, we do apologize, because it's just one of those things that's a pain in the ass, and we have to get it figured out. And obviously, if you haven't fucking figured it out, we're not professionals.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is we're not professionals. We're quite amateur at this. If you couldn't tell just based off our audience numbers. But yeah, I mean, like we don't have the tools and the team and all the resources to make our time frames all the time. So just gonna kind of have to go with the flow. But other than that, I look forward to this, this new year. It's shaping out to be better, at least on my end.
Yeah.
Maybe not for the world.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not for America in particular.
Especially America. Starting off the new year with an invasion of our capital, so that's going great.
Jesus Christ.
But other than that, looking forward to season 2. Looking forward to starting cinematography.
I
can't wait.
I do want to ask you, because we were talking about this a little bit before. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Mine is a lot like yours, because I know we were just talking about this, but mine is to try to get out of the house more. I mean, even before COVID, I was not doing very well at getting out of the house, but I just bought a one wheel. I don't know if anybody out there knows what a one wheel is.
A unicycle?
It's basically like it's kind of like an electric skateboard.
Yeah.
It has a wheel on it, a big wheel in the middle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been riding that thing constantly, man, and it is so much fucking fun. So I'm imagining that'll keep me, motivated to get out of the house and hopefully spark a little bit more joy in my life. It's just kind of when you're in the house all the time. I work from home. My hobbies are all inside the house, so basically never leave my computer desk.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping with that I'll get out. It'll help me not feel so depressed about some stuff a lot of the time, just feel better. So basically that's my resolution, is just get out of the house, make myself feel better. Might even start exercising if I can. Things like that. Hoping that I'll stick to that shit. But I don't know. What about you? I know we kind of talked about it, but why don't you tell everybody what your resolutions are?
My resolutions are to stay in the house as much as possible.
Like drink more, eat more fast food.
Yeah. By the time I die, I want to have barbecue sauce just in my veins.
No, that's your IV drip.
No, I made my resolution to be I want to work out because I'm. If you guys don't know, I front because I front like I'm fucking amazing, and I am to some degree, but but no, I'm insanely self-conscious about a lot of things about me, just because I had a little bit of body dysmorphia before, because I would always think I'm fat when I wasn't, or I would think I'm too skinny when I wasn't, and yeah, so right now I am slightly overweight, and I would just like to lose that weight. So I've been fasting for a week now, and I've been working out every day for pretty much the same amount of time for about a week. And nothing too crazy. Like fasting, I kind of do that anyway, but like during the fasting period while I'm not eating, I'm not drinking like any soda or anything. I just drink water, because that was like the main thing. Like I would go long times without eating, but I would still drink tons of soda, so it didn't really fucking do anything. And now, like I don't feel as bloated and stuff like that, even just a week in. My other resolution is to be a little bit more creatively, just be more creative in general. We're already kind of doing that just by doing our podcasts and working on cinematography and stuff. But I've referenced this before. I make music, and it's not great, but it is incredibly mediocre. So, but I try to be like more funny and stuff like that, because I like being, obviously, a comedian, and so does Chris as well. Mm-hmm. I just like to do that musically, because I have always fucked with music since I was like 12. Yeah. So yeah, if if you do follow me on like my Little Toothless page, because that's what my name is, it's Little Toothless. You can find it on Facebook. Then yeah, just look out, and I'll be trying to put as much extra music as I can, because that's what I'm planning to do this year. And I was supposed to have my fucking album out like 6 months ago, and I was just like, no. And I've been doing that since I was 12. Like, oh, I'm gonna make an album, and then I'm like, never mind. So yeah, that's probably my resolution this year, is to at the very least finish this fucking album, and then be like, okay, I'm done. Let's fucking do something else.
That's good. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, if you guys have any resolutions that you guys want to share with us too, I'd be happy to hear that stuff. I like it. Helps me stay motivated about my resolutions when I hear other people's. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our toast, which is gonna, have to let everybody know what we're drinking. Today I'm just keeping it light with Michelob Ultra. Sean, what about you?
I'm keeping it light with Coors Light, my guy.
Hey.
No, I was gonna get Modelo, but my friend just left beer at my house, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna drink this. I'm not gonna fucking drive and
save some money.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm drinking Coors Light and Dr. Pepper to chase, because I haven't drank beer in like a month since the last time we recorded, so.
All right. Yeah, for today's toast, really just going out to everybody. Happy New Year's. I hope everybody had a good Christmas. And let's toast to just sticking to our resolutions. I think, that's one of the things that everybody does. They make a New Year's resolution and then they never stick to it. So let's toast to keeping our resolutions. How about that?
Yep. Let's keep it. By the way, it's New Year's resolution, not revolution. Trump fucking followers. All right. Cheers. Oh, that is not great.
That's cold spicy right there. All right. Now, it is time to jump right into our first topic of the day, sleep paralysis. So, in the intro for this episode, I kind of gave a brief description on what sleep paralysis is, but I'll go ahead and start us off with a more accurate definition. Sleepfoundation.org defines sleep paralysis as a condition identified by a brief loss of muscle control, known as atonia, that happens just after falling asleep or waking up. In addition to atonia, people often have hallucinations during episodes of sleep paralysis. So, a lot like what I described, but, with fancier lingo. Here's a little more on what they say about sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is categorized as a type of parasomnia. Parasomnias are abnormal behaviors during sleep. Because it is connected to the rapid eye movement, or REM, stage of the sleep cycle, sleep paralysis is considered to be a REM parasomnia. Standard REM sleep involves vivid dreaming, as well as atonia, which helps prevent acting out dreams. Which is kind of odd, because it's like atonia causes sleep paralysis, but at the same time it helps you to not act out your dreams, which is part of what we're going to talk about later with night terrors.
Yeah.
Anyway, however, under normal circumstances, atonia ends upon waking up, so a person never becomes conscious of this inability to move. As a result, researchers believe that sleep paralysis involves a mixed state of consciousness that blends both wakefulness and REM sleep. In effect, the atonia and mental imagery of REM sleep seems to persist even into a state of being aware and awake. So to me, it almost sounds like a lucid dream gone wrong. And they kind of briefly mentioned it before there, but in case you don't know what lucid dreaming is, it's basically when you are able to control your actions in your dreams. Mm-hmm. You're essentially aware of the fact that you're dreaming, and as a result, you're able to like control what happens in the dream. To like even the point where you're like able to bring shit in and all that sort of stuff. I've never been able to lucid dream, but it sounds, awesome.
I've done it a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean,
it's never on purpose.
I would like to. But to me, that's what it sounds like, and sleep paralysis kind of sounds like lucid dreaming without the ability to control the dream. So you're aware you're potentially dreaming, but instead of being able to make yourself fly or imagine things into existence, you're instead, a victim of your mind's own imagination. And seeing how they said that this atonia causes the loss of muscle control, what I think causes the like creepy hallucinations and such is that since your mind is aware that you're dreaming, but you're unable to move, your mind just like freaks itself out from not being able to move, which causes it to imagine scary things that aren't there. And I don't know. That's what I think, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think I don't think it should be any more than that because like I I've heard like other people have experiences where they like see their like that term that which is a meme by the way now it's your sleep paralysis demon and and like I don't really get that. We'll talk about some of that stuff later, but like I I don't see why it always has to be connected with scary stuff. You know what I mean? Like, what? Why is it always like related to a night terror? I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know why. I guess it's just because your imagination might turn scary just because you immediately start panicking, like immediately when you feel like you're paralyzed, and since you're technically unconscious or in the middle of being unconscious, your mind starts panicking as well. So it's just like, all right, fucking throw in demons because he's scared.
Yeah, and that's all I think it is. I think it's just your mind knows you can't move, and you just start panicking, and because of that panic, it just manifests, creepy shit. So that's what I think.
Yeah. Well, let's see what experts have to say about what causes sleep paralysis. According again to sleepfoundation.org, quote, the exact cause of sleep paralysis is unknown. Studies have examined data to see what is associated with a higher risk of sleep paralysis and have found mixed results. Based on that research, researchers believe that multiple factors are involved in provoking sleep paralysis, and sleep disorders and other sleeping problems have shown some of the strongest correlations with isolated sleep paralysis. Higher rates of sleep paralysis, 38% in one study, are reported by people with obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, a sleep disorder of repeated lapses in breathing. Sleep paralysis also has been found to be more common in people with nighttime leg cramps, coinciding with these statements. Sleepeducation.org similarly states on their website that, quote, if there is something else that is causing your sleep problems, this may be a result of one of the following: another sleep disorder such as narcolepsy, a medical condition, medication use, mental health disorder, or substance abuse. So, unfortunately, it sounds like there isn't any definitive answer as to why someone might experience sleep paralysis, but it does sound like you are more likely to experience it if you have other conditions or use any substances prior to sleeping. Now, while we might not know what exactly sleep paralysis is, we do know who is more likely to experience it. Like I mentioned, you're probably more likely to have it if you have a medical condition or if you use some sort of mind-altering substance before bed. But you are more more likely to have it if you are between the age range of like 20 to 30. So, if life wasn't already hellish enough when you're in your fucking 20s, there's a better chance that you might experience sleep paralysis as well, which, that's fun.
And it sucks too that it says more common with people with nighttime leg cramps, because I've had plenty of nighttime leg cramps. But just also, I honestly think that the reason it's more common for people in their 20s is specifically because it's such a stressful time in life. It seems like that's usually when most people are, experiencing the like major changes. Like getting married, having kids, going to college, making big career choices, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also read that that stress was a major factor in experiencing sleep paralysis, so I feel like that kind of holds up. Also, more likely to experience sleep paralysis are people with jet lag and shift workers. So if you work those odd late night hours or take hours-long cross-country flights, you might be more susceptible to one of those episodes. And I mean, don't you work like a weird odd hour shift?
Yeah, I work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day.
10 p.m. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Yeah, that's... All right, well, yeah, you might be susceptible to it. I mean, we'll talk about it later if you have or haven't.
Fuck yeah, dog.
Anyway, an interesting thing about sleep paralysis is there are actually 2 different types of it, and I'll admit I had no idea. I thought it was all just one thing, but apparently there are 2, and this isn't going to come as some big revelation, but they're called isolated sleep paralysis and recurrent sleep paralysis. And here's how they are defined. Isolated sleep paralysis is when the episodes are not connected to an underlying diagnosis of narcolepsy, a neurological disorder that prevents the brain from properly controlling wakefulness and often leads to sleep paralysis.
Okay.
Recurrent sleep paralysis involves multiple episodes over time. So, pretty simple. Isolated means just one inconsistent episode, whereas recurrent means it happens multiple times. What I find interesting is that if it happens multiple times, it's been stated that narcolepsy can be an underlying condition that causes sleep paralysis, or more so, sleep paralysis can be a symptom of narcolepsy, and that's truly terrible. Honestly, you already have narcolepsy, and now you have to deal with the chances of having sleep paralysis episodes too.
Yeah, no shit.
And actually, about 1 in 4 people who have narcolepsy are likely to experience an episode of sleep paralysis. So that's pretty fucking sad.
Yeah.
And I think I said it, but I don't remember. If I didn't, narcolepsy is that disorder where you can just randomly fall asleep without warning. That's a crude description, but you get the gist. Might talk about it more later if we get the chance. But anyway. Now we know a small bit about sleep paralysis, what it is, and who it can happen to. But, what is it exactly to experience this for yourself? So let's see what experts have to say, and then we'll explore some testimonies from people who've gone through 1 or more of these episodes, including yours truly, and potentially Sean. This is coming again from sleepfoundation.org under a section that reads, "What does sleep paralysis feel like?" Quote, "The fundamental symptom of sleep paralysis is atonia," which we talked about earlier, or the inability to move the body. It occurs shortly after falling asleep or waking up, and during an episode, a person feels awake and is aware of the loss of muscle control. An estimated 75% of sleep paralysis episodes involve hallucinations that are distinct from typical dreams. As with atonia, these can occur when falling asleep, and I'm going to butcher this, hypnagogic hallucinations, or waking up, hypnopompic hallucinations. Hallucinations during sleep paralysis fall into 3 categories. Intruder hallucinations, which involve the I'm just messing all over the place. Let me start over. Intruder hallucinations, which involve the perception of a dangerous person or presence in the room. Chest pressure hallucinations, also called incubus hallucinations, that can incite a feeling of suffocation. These frequently occur along with the intruder hallucinations, which sucks. The next one is vestibular motor hallucinations, or VM hallucinations, which can include feelings of movement, such as flying or out-of-body sensations. Atonia is often distressing, and troubling hallucinations can make sleep paralysis episodes even more bothersome. For this reason, around 90% of episodes are associated with fear, while only the minority have more pleasant or even blissful hallucinations. So, kind of funny you were talking about that. I guess it does seem like there can be instances where you do have like pleasant sleep paralysis, but I don't understand how that could work. But anyway, the perception of these episodes have been found to vary significantly based on a person's cultural context. And they said that, and I tried to look into it. I even looked at the article that they were referencing and stuff. Kind of weird. It's just basically talking about like how sleep paralysis affects like people's cultures and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard like a couple of like examples of it where, I can't remember the exact story, but it was referencing it like in Africa or something like that, and I guess they were like they heavily fucking feared this one kind of like quote unquote demon, but that's when someone suffers from sleep paralysis, especially the chest pressure one. and I can't remember if they like call it like it's like a sort of incubus. It's basically like they think this demon rapes you in your sleep and shit, and it's fucking terrifying.
Is it the Night Witch?
Something like that, yeah. But
Yeah.
I heard it from like another either article or podcast or something like that. But it was a fucking really good story.
Yeah, like I really tried to like dig up some stuff on this, but it's kind of weird to. I didn't even really know what to search for. Um, but yeah, I mean, like the thing was just basically referencing that, yeah, like our like cultural history with sleep paralysis and stuff. So it's kind of interesting that this has been happening to people for a very long time. Anyway, continuing on, episodes can last from a few seconds to up and around 20 minutes, and the average length is between 6 and 7 minutes. 20 minutes is a hell of a long time. In most cases, episodes end on their own, but occasionally are interrupted by another person's touch or voice, or by an intense effort to move that overcomes atonia. So there you have it. That's how the experts describe it. Basically, you can't move, and you feel afraid because you feel like something is either in the room with you, or is literally on top of you, or it feels like you're flying out of your body, which sounds pretty fucking intense, but maybe not as scary as hearing it, like firsthand accounts of one of these sleep paralysis episodes. So let's go ahead and hear a couple of firsthand stories from people who have experienced this, and then Sean and I will tell you about our personal experiences, if any.
So for this, of course, turn to the best place to find personal recounts of stories and odd occurrences. Reddit. Okay, maybe not the best, but definitely the most interesting, and usually it comes from real people just trying to share a story. Anyway, here's a couple of sleep paralysis stories as told by some users on Reddit. The first one here is very short, but contains some vulgar language, so just brace for that. If because we're a family-friendly podcast, as you guys well know. But
just letting you know, it's a little abrupt.
Yeah. So here we go. This brief story comes from user Miles Dizzy. Responding to the question, people of Reddit with sleep paralysis, what is the scariest experience you have had? Miles Dizzy replied with, someone brushing a knife against their cheek saying they'd gut me and fuck my insides until I died if I made a single noise or tried to move. I tried to scream and someone came running, but they were still part of the episode and they jumped on top of me and started screaming in my face. The entire time I had been trying to move my fingers, I was slowly able to enroll myself over to my light, flipped it on, and the episode was over. I spent the rest of my night awake and a cold sweat with the lights on. One of the worst experiences of my life. Thankfully, I haven't had an episode in about a year. Okay, fuck.
Yeah, so it's a quick story, but I mean, like, if you really think about it, it's pretty intense because you're just sitting there sleeping and somebody's just rubbing a fucking knife. Does he say against his face, or the person with the knife was rubbing it against their own face?
Someone brushing a knife against their cheek. So they were literally like kind of like shaving, you know what I mean? Like rubbing the knife against their face.
And then saying, I'll gut you and fuck your insides.
Yeah.
If I make a single noise. They'll be like, okay, I'm not going to fucking do anything. And then just like top that with the fact that he can't move. And then he says he tried to scream and someone came running, but then they were part of the episode and they came and fucking just started screaming, jumped on top of him and started screaming in their face. Like, I don't know. Like I said, it's brief, but that's pretty fucking intense when you really like think about it, especially when you think about the vulnerability you feel when you're sleeping.
Yeah, I like it. It's just as bad as that vulnerability. This hasn't gone away from me. For me sleeping. If I die in my sleep, I don't fucking care. It's fine. Like, I'm not particularly fond of the idea of dying, but if I had a preference, it would be while I was sleeping. So hopefully, I just don't wake up when someone fucked my insides. Just let me fucking sleep, man. But that vulnerability is still very apparent. Like, if I get in the shower,
yeah,
fuck me, dude. I can't, like, I'm probably this much more in love with my girlfriend just because she bought clear shower curtains, and I'm so fucking happy for that because she has a habit of closing the shower curtains, or not recently really, but like I know our mom does. She closes the shower curtains for some fucking reason. So whenever you're on the shitter, you're like, okay, and you have to like peek in there, and you're like, motherfucker. Like, I don't know why, but there's someone always fucking in the shower in my head. So but I have clear shower curtains, so I'm just like, oh, it's fine. No one's in there.
I hate that because I'll do that too, but I'm like, I have this such like tough guy bravado about myself that I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna fucking pull back those curtains. So I'll just sit there like taking a piss, and the whole time I'm like, God, please don't be a demon. Please don't fucking open the curtain and bite my wiener off right now. Like, I won't pull back the curtain, but I'm still fucking terrified the whole time.
I will. I have no fucking shame in it, dude. Okay. Two things: shower curtains, not an issue in my house because I have clear shower curtains. Two, I do have stairs though, and if you guys can relate to this, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. As soon as you turn off those lights downstairs, you are fucking sprinting upstairs, bro. And yeah, that's still a thing. Like I'll be fucking macho, and and Lily's like, oh, I'm scared of the dark. Lily's my daughter. Daddy, I'm scared of the dark. And like, what am I supposed to say? Like, oh, honey, me too.
Me too.
Your fucking grown ass man of a dad was like, no, I don't like the dark at all. I won't even fucking go camping at like a non-lit fucking campground anymore. Like, it's like, fuck that. Anyway, the next one is another brief recount that has a bit of a twist ending. So here we go. I've had sleep paralysis my whole life. I have very distinct memories of it as a child. It would always start with me waking up, and there would be a man in my room in the corner standing over me, and I would scream for my parents, but nothing would come out. Just quiet air, no matter how hard I tried to scream. Once I entered college, it started getting worse, and I would feel the men run their hands over my body and stuff like that. I'm lucky I never had any paranormal hallucinations like lots of people do, but it's really scary to truly believe there is an intruder in your room and he's touching you or about to rape you / kill you, and you can't scream. The scariest experience was earlier this year. I woke up and saw a man in all black disguise crouching at the end of my bed, moving onto my bed, and I started to scream. I had this tiny shred of relief knowing this how all my sleep paralysis dreams are, and that after a little while of trying to scream, I would get to wake up. Except I actually screamed. I fucking screamed. And I heard my scream echoing in my head, and I screamed more and more. It was real. There was really a man that entered my room. Years and years of the same nightmare finally came true. I've yet to recover. That's, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, that one sucks because I guess it turned out there really was somebody in her room.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is a girl because it kind of sounds like a girl.
This kind of sounds like maybe they like roofied her or something like that, and they just happened to manage to like go through it over and over again, and she had just thought she was having sleep paralysis, which is kind of more of like a psychological like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really fucked up.
Yeah. That's why I was like, yeah, this one really did have a twist ending because it turns out it was real. I mean, like, yeah, who knows if the other, like you were saying, if the other times were actually sleep paralysis or if she was being molested in her sleep or something.
Yeah, like
that's creepy.
Yeah, like traumatic recounts made her think that it was like, that'd be fucked up. Okay, you go ahead. You go ahead and tell the last one because that fucked me up.
Yeah. Last one here that we're gonna share from Reddit. Before we talk about our personal experiences, this one is coming from user You Don't Know Me, Dog. All right, here we go. I woke up to the front door opening, and I thought it was weird that the dog didn't bark. I tried to wake my husband up, but it couldn't move. My eyes were open, and I could see him in bed next to me, lying on the side facing away from me, but I couldn't move or speak to get his attention. I heard the rustle of blue jeans rubbing together as someone walked through the living room, into the kitchen. The refrigerator door opened, and I heard someone get a piece of ham out, then heard the dog eating it. I tried to scream, tried to nudge my husband, tried to move, tried everything, but I was frozen. I somehow knew then that my husband was dead. Not sure why or how, but I knew he wasn't alive. I heard the heavy footsteps of boots coming towards the bedroom, so I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep, all the while still trying to reach out and touch my husband. I figured out it was a man. He came around the foot of the bed to my side, and even though I couldn't turn and look, I knew he was there. I kept my eyes closed and I tried to not let him see the tears, Then he leaned down over me. I can still smell the alcohol on his breath as he leaned up to my ear and said, "Honey, he's already gone, and you're next."
Well, she's still here because she wrote a fucking Reddit story.
Yeah. Still creepy, kind of like the first one. My biggest question of the whole story is, how did she know he got ham out of the refrigerator? As soon as I read that, I was like, "Ooh, I gotta try not to laugh," because how do you know he's pulling ham out? Like, does ham
first of all,
have a sound I don't remember?
You either have such an affinity for ham that you know the exact sound of the fridge opening, you opening the packaging, and like you're like, "Oh no, that's not even bologna. That's fucking straight up ham, dog."
Dude, that's our ham. He's in our ham right now.
Like,
he's feeding our ham to the dog.
You know how pissed off I would be if, like, I knew the sound of my chocolate milk opening, and I was upstairs and I heard, like, and I'm like, that son of a bitch.
That's my fucking chocolate milk.
God damn it. Yeah, well, obviously, this wasn't a real story because she wrote a story. Wrote this one anyway, but, yeah, you know, that's, yeah. I mean, unless she acknowledged it was just a dream and she just happened to wake up from it. But, like, I don't know. Like, this one didn't really scare me. Like, I guess it's more of a mindfuck because I don't know what would scare me more. Like, me imagining an intruder in my house because then I couldn't, like, identify if it was real or not. Or me imagining, like, a demon because that would terrify me more, but I can at least acknowledge that it might not be real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what's funny too, is I know between me and Crystal, my girlfriend, we have that differentiating fear. I'm more scared of like the real things, of like a person breaking in and, you know, fucking murdering us in our sleep. She's more afraid of a fucking demon slurping out of the closet and killing all of us. And I'm like, you know, what's more likely to happen though? You know, somebody breaking in and stabbing us to death is much more likely to happen. Even though that might not be likely to happen, that's more likely to happen than a demon coming out of the closet. At least as far as I know, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, and it's a hard thing to like say that one is scarier than the other because of that fact, you know, like there feels like a more real world chance that somebody could break in. But at the same time, I feel like if a demon was standing at the end of my bed, I would be infinitely more terrified than a fucking man with a knife.
Oh, shit.
It's just, I have that thing where I'm like, I'm not scared of demons and shit until, you know, something makes me scared of them. So, I don't know.
Well, you have to see it to believe that you're that kind of person, which, you know, that's fine, and I'm kind of the same way, but like...
Which is odd for a man of faith to...
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it. You saw it in the camera. I know you guys can't see our face, but I was just like...
You're like, that's a little weird for you to say. Don't question it, okay?
But no,
it's like the cardinal rule of Christianity. You can't question things.
But I do get it. You know, like I'm not particularly scared of. I don't know. Like I feel like if it's real, I can control the outcome a little bit more. If it's unreal or you know, like paranormal and stuff, you don't know what to expect. That's probably why it scares me a little bit more. Not that I think the paranormal is real necessarily. I am fascinated by it, but like to some degree, who isn't? But at that same degree, like I said, if you can't control something, then it just makes it that much more terrifying. If it's an intruder, I at least have a pretty good chance because I'm a big dude. I can fuck someone up. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you're like, I know how to fight a man. I know how to kill a man.
Yeah.
Not sure how to fight a demon. Don't know if I could even kill a demon.
I don't know if The Exorcist, like, I can't. All I know is how to say a couple things in Latin, and I'm not even sure if I'm saying it right, and I know how to hold...
Most of it's from Boondock Saints. I don't think it applies.
I haven't been to a single Catholic fucking mass.
Yeah, all right. Well, I mean, aside from those stories, unfortunately, I couldn't seem to find any about, like, sleep paralysis demons, which seems to be, like, the popular thing for memes and stuff like that. I was really hoping I'd get to see more stories about that. But, I mean, I can share, however, that I've had my own personal experience with sleep paralysis. Have you had an actual experience with sleep paralysis?
I have, but it's not going to be what you expect. Why don't you tell yours and then I'll go ahead and tell mine because mine's fucking weird. But
Yeah,
it 100% was sleep paralysis though.
one we have talked about
Oh yeah.
previously on the ghosts episode, because we were talking about the Hat Man.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might know what that is, but if you don't, it's basically just this dark figure that you can see in your room. That was, in fact, a sleep paralysis dream because I saw the Hat Man standing in my hallway in the door frame, and I was paralyzed with fear, couldn't fucking move or do anything, and basically I felt like I was like, just trapped looking at him, wanted to scream, all that shit, couldn't do anything, and then eventually I woke up from it. Luckily, that lasted just a few seconds. But I mean, at the time, it felt like minutes. I've had it other times aside from that, but I don't have any like in particular. I just do remember it happened a lot to me in my childhood. It was always just I would be paralyzed with fear, like looking at my doorway or my closet and thinking I see something there and feeling like I see something. But I can't really recount any like particular instances. I will just say that I had a lot of sleeping disorders as a kid. I did all of it basically. I slept walk, I slept talk, I slept ate. I had sleep paralysis, I had night terrors, I had all that shit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask Mom about like a lot of the night terrors, the sleep talking, stuff like that. She knows. And yeah, like I told you, the sleep paralysis thing, I've had that. The sleep eating thing, it wasn't so much sleep eating as it was sleep drinking, but for some reason I'd wake up and I'd be chugging like milk or water or something. Usually it was milk, which is fucking odd to wake up chugging out of a gallon of milk, but yeah, it's fucking weird. I would just suddenly wake up and I'm like, I have the fucking jug just pounding it and I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
And then other times I at least twice that I can remember, I would sleepwalk to the point where I woke up laying on the living room floor, just laying in pitch black fucking room. Pretty fucking terrifying, but luckily that it didn't happen too much with the sleepwalking.
So I did okay. See my Hat Man experience. First of all, I don't know. I guess we did kind of agree that it was the Hat Man because we both got freaked out because I told you what I experienced, and then we got freaked the fuck out on that episode because you were like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I didn't have I didn't have sleep paralysis. I guess I did, but like I knew I was asleep. Like I knew it was a dream. So like, but then again, that room was so fucking dark that maybe I was half awake and I just didn't recall and I just fell asleep afterwards. But I do remember it like more being a dream than being awake and having sleep paralysis. And I do remember if you guys remember in that episode, I have a lot of I had a lot more details on the Hat Man than just like the figure. I saw like a gray like face that didn't have any like nose or eyes or a mouth, and I saw like a a brown like a brown tinted like brimmed hat, and it wasn't like fucking how was it like not a fedora but like one of those kind of like farmer's caps, but it has like the indents and stuff.
Yeah,
And like
I know what you're talking about.
and a brown trench coat to match, and that was like the features that I remember, and that fucking terrified me. But I wouldn't exactly identify that with sleep paralysis. The one time I did have sleep paralysis that like I 100% knew, I was 5 or 6, I think, and obviously you guys won't know what I'm talking about, but just to bring this down to Chris. Do you remember the apartment that we lived in? It was actually a duplex. We shared it with our grandma. It was
the one on Euclid.
Yeah, the one on Euclid. It was on top of that big ass hill. So, in my sleep paralysis, I woke up, but as soon as I woke up, everything was in I guess you can call it infrared, like thermal imaging. Everything. I could see fucking everything in thermal imaging. And And like, I don't remember exactly how long it lasted, but I remember I couldn't fucking move. I could blink, but every time I would blink, it would still stay that way. And then finally, I like did like a final like really long blink, and I opened my eyes, and I was awake. And the thermal like infrared shit was gone, and I could move again. And I was like, do I have me being like 5 or 6 years old? I was like, do I have fucking powers? But
yeah, that's weird.
I think
basically became Predator for a little
bit.
I
think I had just watched Predator pretty recently, and I just had a really fucking vivid dream with paralysis. But yeah, that was like the one time that I know for a fact I had paralysis. Otherwise, like you said, I don't think I had a lot of like sleepwalking. I think I slept too hard to sleepwalk. I think I've done it pretty recently though, because I know for a fact I've fallen asleep at my desk. And I'll wake up like on my couch, and I know that's not really that big of a difference, because if I know you guys can't see my house, but my desk is literally like fucking 5 feet from my couch, and I know for a fact that I fell asleep at my desk, and I'll wake up on the couch, and I always like panic because I don't like falling asleep down here at all, but just that kind of like that memory being like, I know for a fact, like I was sitting in my fucking chair and I must have fallen asleep, and then I walked over to the fucking couch and laid down with a blanket on me.
That like disorienting fucking feeling from not remembering shit. Yeah, it's just, I get it.
I know for a fact I've talk in my sleep. I'm pretty sure I still do that. And as far as sleep eating, I think I'm just fat.
You're like, nah, I'm pretty sure I'm awake for most of that.
Like, if anything, I'm just very, very, very tired, and I wake up and I go downstairs and I get ham, and then my intruder is down there grabbing ham as well, and I'm like, hey, can I get some of that?
All right. Well, I mean, luckily, sleep paralysis isn't some serious, incurable problem. However, if you are having frequent episodes of sleep paralysis, as we have learned, that's called recurrent sleep paralysis, and it might be best to consult your doctor. That said, if you are, just experiencing it here and there, you might just need to tweak your bedtime routine. The use of cell phones and other electronic devices before bed have been linked to episodes of sleep paralysis, so consider discontinuing the use of electronic items about a half hour before bedtime. Other factors can include irregular sleep schedule, caffeine or medication before bed, and exposure to light or other nighttime annoyances. I know it's not always the most comfortable to sleep in like a pitch black room for some people, but I know I have always had the best sleep when I went to bed with the TV off in a pitch black and like noiseless room. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. It's just always been like I wake up feeling refreshed.
Pitch black and cold as fuck.
Yeah. Of course, it doesn't hurt to like have some like white noise in the background if that helps you sleep, because I've done that too. Like just have some like a fan, or even play music in a pitch black room. So really, I mean, the point of it is just the best way to avoid it happening is to just make sure you're getting comfortable, consistent, and healthy sleep. And again, I think that is why this tends to happen to the younger age group, because we are always on our phones, always sleeping at odd hours, and pretty much always getting, rather inconsistent rest one way or another. Like, I don't really know anybody in their 20s to 30s that sleeps like on a schedule. Mm-hmm. And I know it's hard to form healthy sleeping habits, but that's your best chance to avoid having the sleep paralysis demon pay you a visit. But anyway, I feel like that's good to wrap us up on sleep paralysis. Next, we're going to talk about night terrors and other disorders. But first, Sean, what time is it?
Hold on, let me check. It's time for Tipplers Tidbit.
Today's Tipplers Tidbit is brought to you by James Hetfield's Enter Sandman Slumber Time Soft Gels, a new sleep aid medication that works especially well for Metallica fans and those who just cannot get a good night's rest because of the beast under their bed. Or maybe it's in your closet, or in your head. Either way, once you take one of the Enter Sandman Slumber Time Soft Gels, it'll be exit light and enter night for your sleepy ass. Go off to Never Never Land with ease when you take James Hetfield's Enter Sandman Slumber Time soft gels. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me the sleep that I desire. Find them at your local pharmacy or corner store today. Yeah! As fantastic as that would be, unfortunately, that is not a real advertisement for a real product. However, if you have a real product that you would like to advertise here on the show, please reach out to us at Tipplers Two Cents podcast at gmail.com, and let's see if we can make it happen. Anyway, today's Tipplers tidbit is this. When it comes to blacking out from large intakes of alcohol, apparently women are much more likely to black out first. According to alcohol.org, women are at greater risk of blacking out than men, and young adults are at greater risk of blacking out compared to older adults. Differences in hormones, body composition, and physical size, which affect alcohol distribution, and metabolism among genders, is likely the reason why women are more prone to blacking out. Which is interesting. Didn't know that. Didn't even think that made a difference. But anyway, the next time your girlfriend Becky says she can drink you under the table, show her who's boss and slam that bottle while she passes the fuck out. And if it so happens you pass out first, then maybe you might want to reconsider who gets to be called the boyfriend in the relationship. Just kidding. This has been your Tipplers Tidbit.
Tipplers Tidbit.
Alright, so we talked about sleep paralysis, which is sort of a weird dreamlike state where you can't move and are stuck somewhere in between dreaming and being awake. But what about a super intense nightmare that you couldn't wake up from? One where you're unable to move, see, or one where you are able to move, see, and even speak, but are totally possessed by fear. That, my friends, is a night terror. Slightly different than sleep paralysis. So let's talk about it.
Again, we are stuck referencing our articles from Sleep Foundation and sleepeducation.org. God, those fucking guys and their research. But here's how they describe night terrors. Quote, night terrors are also called sleep terrors. They're fucking not liars. And are a type of...
nobody calls them that.
And are a type of parasomnia classified as an arousal disorder that occurs during non-REM sleep or non-REM sleep or non-rapid eye movement sleep or NREM. They usually occur during the first 3 to 4 hours of the night. A person experiencing a night terror will suddenly begin to show signs of panic and terror while sleeping, such as screaming, flailing, and kicking. I do this every night. I don't know what the big deal is.
That's how I get ready for bed.
Yeah, I fucking
scream and flail.
This is usually accompanied by other symptoms like rapid heart rate and breathing, flushing of the skin, sweating, dilation of the pupils, and tensing of the muscles. Although the child may open their eyes and appear to be intensely afraid of someone or something in the room, they are typically not responsive to those who try to wake them or provide comfort. They may even attempt to fight or escape, causing accidental injury to themselves or family members. Most night terrors last about 10 minutes, and they can continue for 30 to 40 minutes in some children. After the episode, children often fall back into a deep sleep and typically have no memory of the night terror the next morning. The frequency of night terrors can be hard to predict. Some children may experience them rarely, while others may have 1 to 2 episodes per month. As you heard, a night terror is a lot like a nightmare, so that might lead you to ask the questions: what's the difference between a nightmare and a night terror? Oh, god damn it! Nightmares is a character from the game Soul Calibur.
And he's probably the best pick for you.
And he's really cool. His moveset's amazing. No, nightmares are unpleasant or frightening dreams that cause emotional distress. Unlike night terrors, nightmares usually occur during REM sleep and don't involve physical or vocal behaviors. It is common to remember the details or feelings of the nightmare, and some may even become recurring dreams, which I have mentioned before that I've had about the Hat Man. Both nightmares and night terrors begin in childhood. It is estimated that 10% to 50% of children ages 3 to 5 have nightmares that are severe enough to disturb parents or caregivers. While night terrors are considered less common, prevalence rates are not well documented. In general, the prevalence in children has been reported as 1 to, what the fuck is that? 1 to 6.5%. However, one study found up to 40% of children under the age of 5 experienced night terrors. Obviously, it seems that night terrors occur quite often in children, but how often is it exactly, and how often does it affect other age groups?
Yeah, so you gave a good couple of percentages there. But night terrors also appear to affect children mostly during the first and second year of their life. A study found that around the 1.5 year age, up to 35% of the children in the study were experiencing night terrors. And that's pretty high, actually. Like I know up where you were reading, it was saying 10 to 50% of children in the age just 3 to 5. That's pretty high as well. Like, fuck. Kids, that must suck.
To be fair, I did have I had probably the most amount of nightmares when I was really little. I remember having fucking terrifying nightmares, even that my imagination now couldn't fucking trump. I don't know why, but
yeah. Now I couldn't find where it says anything as to why they think this is. So I'm just gonna spitball and guess that it's because this is when a child's brain really starts to develop its imagination. And I'm just speaking from personal experience for one, having been a child, and two, having observed my child. She really seemed to spark up an imagination around that age, and it also seemed like that's when she started having actual nightmares and night terrors.
Yeah.
So as far as the adolescent age group goes, which is the 12 and up with the preteen and teen years, the frequency of night terrors is actually quite low. About only 4%, which is a shocking drop off from the 35% to back, at the 1.5 year age, and obviously the 10 to 50% for the 3 to 5 year olds. This trend keeps its consistency as we move on to the adult age group, where it drops down to about 2.2%. And it's even less than that, actually. It's less than 1% for people over 65. So luckily, most of us don't have much to worry about as far as night terrors in our current lives. However, I'm pretty sure plenty of us can remember times of experiencing a night terror, seeing as there was a likely chance that a 35% chance that you had it as a 1.5-year-old and fucking 10 to 50% chance as a 3 to 5-year-old. But before we talk about what it's like to have a night terror, let's figure out what could cause one. Now, luckily, when it comes to the majority of sleeping disorders, the causes remain consistent. It usually boils down to what is known as sleep hygiene. And that is basically, it just means, how often you're getting healthy sleep, which includes uninterrupted sleep, maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, avoiding stimulating activity or devices before bed, and refraining from ingesting caffeine, alcohol, or, other types of drugs, meth. I think we all know meth is probably not the best before bedtime. It's usually good to do in the morning with your cereal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I start my day off. I fucking hit a bowl of life and then I hit a bowl of meth. Boom.
Okay, can I just say something? And I don't know, this has nothing to do with anything, but pickles and quesadillas are the shit on meth.
You heard it here, guys.
Pickles and quesadilla.
If you're gonna do meth, pickles and quesadillas. Anyway, what the fuck were we talking about? Yeah, we're talking about healthy sleeping, and that does keep in line with the fact that that keeps in line with night terrors. That stuff obviously helps. So obviously, some of this doesn't pertain for when you're a child, like alcohol intake, for instance. Not unless you're a shitty parent giving your kid fucking shots of whiskey or something, or your kid's just a badass little rebel dude. Or maybe he or she has the Benjamin Button's disease and they're actually 80 years old but look 5. All right. All that nonsense aside, if your kid is experiencing night terrors, it could just be due to bad sleep hygiene. So, try to avoid letting them play on a tablet or smartphone. Try to avoid sugary snacks or drinks right before bedtime. And trust me, I'm a parent to a toddler, so I understand how difficult of a request that is, but I think that's also why my daughter seems to have night terrors,
Yeah.
quite often. She usually goes to bed with a tablet or a phone in her hand. But I'll talk more about personal experiences in a minute. First, we want to share stories from other people and their episodes of night terrors. Again, we turn to the reliable Reddit for their stories, so, take them with a grain of salt. But even still, maybe they might give you a good little spookle.
Yeah, this first story comes from user Scuba No Name 643, and he prefaces the story by explaining that he has a history of night terrors and he still has them to this day. The following is the one that supposedly horrified him and his family the most. I was about 9 years old, and it was 10:15 p.m. on a Friday. My parents were divorced at the time, and I was living with my mother. Bedtime, my mom yelled to my brother and me. Can I just stay up a little bit longer, I pleaded. I really wanted to stay up and watch my brother play video games. Sorry, buddy boy, but you know you don't sleep well, my mom said. She was right. I always felt like I didn't sleep at all, but I knew it had something to do with my night terrors, or at least something, something to do with them. I was getting into bed, and my mom came into my room, like she did every night, and sang to me. It would calm my spirits and help me fall asleep. She kissed my forehead, turned off the lights, and closed my door. I laid there singing the song to myself, and that's when I fell asleep. Next thing you know, I am awake at the hospital with doctors looking at my face and reading charts. I have no idea what's going on. I look over in the corner to my mom crying and absolutely terrified. My dad rushed in and hugged me. What the hell was going on, and why am I at the doctor's? After everything calmed down, the first thing I noticed was my brother wasn't in the room. Zach is at Grandpa and Grandma's house right now. My grandparents live close to the hospital since my grandpa worked there. What's going on, Mom? Why am I at the hospital? Something happened. My mom started to choke up. Do you remember anything? My dad asked me. No, I don't. My mom stopped crying enough to tell me what had happened, and this is what she said. At about 1:09 a.m., I started to scream, which they are used to because of the night terrors I normally had. This time, though, she had said the screams were different. It actually sounded like I was dying. I kept saying, "Stop! Please, it hurts! Please stop! Mommy, help! It hurts so bad!" She ran to my room and went to open my door, but the door was locked. She was confused and panicked because there was no locks on my door. She started to bang on the door, yelling to me. My brother woke up, wondering what was going on, but my mom told him to go wait downstairs. She continued to bang on the door to try to get me to open it. After a couple minutes, she managed to open the door, and the next thing she told me terrifies me to this day. She said I was sitting up and just staring at her. I wasn't yelling anymore. She started calling my name, but I was unresponsive. I just sat there staring. Then she said I told her something that terrified her. Why are they hurting me, Mommy? Why? Who? Who is hurting you? The dreams. They hurt. I put my hands around my head. How are the dreams hurting you? They said they will never stop. Who said? They're under my skin. I started to scratch at my neck and my face so hard it started to bleed. My mother ran over to me and grabbed my arms to stop me. She held both my arms in one hand and put her other arm around me to hug me. She started to sing the song that calms me down. She looked at me and my eyes were completely black. Blood was slowly dripping from my face to my neck. I had a smile on my face. My mother, completely terrified and stunned, let go of my arms and stepped back, my head tilted to the side. I spoke to her in a deep voice. His dreams will always be ours. I fell backwards into my bed. She screamed and my brother ran upstairs to see if she was okay. She had me in her arms and yelled at my brother to go get in the car. The next thing, we were at the hospital. I felt my face had bandages on them and my arms had tubes coming out of them. I was terrified and started to cry because I had no idea why I was there or that any of that happened. My parents both told me it was going to be all right. The doctors ran some tests and sent the results to my grandfather. After reviewing the tests, he didn't find anything wrong. The cuts/scratches would heal by themselves. That same thing happened a couple of times that year. Kids and my friends would always question what happened to my neck and face, but I just told them it was from my dog. After my 10th birthday, it never happened again. I still had night terrors, and I would still sit up in my bed sometimes, but I never spoke. My mom and I actually went to therapy for a while after this happened because it scarred us both. After that, I never really had any dreams that I can remember. I had night terrors for years after that, and I still have some today, but I can never remember them. I don't really have good dreams either. I fall asleep, and then a second later, I'm awake. I've had exes tell me that I talk really oddly in my sleep and move around a lot. I asked them if they could repeat what I said, and most of them just said it sounded like gibberish. Well, I know what most of you are thinking. Why don't you just record yourself sleeping? Well, I did. I continued to go to therapy often. I played the recordings for my therapist, and she said that I should delete them. I played them for my mom, and she turned white, and I deleted them after that. I don't talk about this whole thing that happened with anyone in my family, especially my mom. My voice on the recordings was always deep, and if you play it backwards, I do say something audible. Always ours. Okay. Fuck no.
Like, all right. I mean, that one's a good one. That's creepy. But I don't know. I do feel like that one's fabricated.
Oh yeah, like 100%. But
because for one, he's recounting from experience, but it seems like, when you're telling a story that happened to you, you don't normally go, this happened to me on a Friday at 1:09 a.m.
Yeah.
On a cold August morning or whatever. You don't say shit like that.
It's always like rounding up or rounding down. Like I'm like, maybe it was like 2 a.m. or something like that, or it was the middle of the night, like generalize.
Yeah, he had it down to a specific time. That usually means he made it up. So, still creepy though, and I still think that he could be pulling from actual experience, but just embellishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was pretty creepy. I mean, if any of that sort of stuff is real, that is still terrifying. Like, I do believe, like, a lot of the stuff that he mentioned could have really happened to him or somebody. The only parts that I find fabricated are, like, the, his eyes turning all black and maybe some of the other stuff, how he was saying he recorded himself but had to delete it and shit. I don't know. Sounds like a lot of that was just to flourish it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm 6 out of 5. Or 6 out of 10, I mean, so what the fuck?
6 out of 5.
13 out of 2.
All right, well, one last one before we share our experiences with night terrors. Here we go. Hardly anyone has had a real night terror. I have only had 2 in my lifetime. Last night I woke to a creature/demon sitting on my chest. I can't exactly remember what it looked like, but the closest resemblance would be a face sucker from Alien. I couldn't move. I was in such horror, all I could do was lie there. There was a very odd sensation like it was sucking on my chest or my stomach and then trying to strangle me. Finally, I was able to jump out of bed, flinging my sheets and blankets all over the room. Frantically, I tried to get this creature off of me, but it kept moving away from my hands. My heart was beating so fast it hurt. After this went on for a little bit, I started to scream. Yes, scream bloody fucking murder at 3 to 4 a.m. with my entire family home. For some reason, I ran into my brother's room for help, and he started screaming too. After all this was over, I just sat in my room trying to fall asleep. From what I have found out, this can be caused by a number of things such as stress and loud banging at night. Come to think of it, my stupid fucking cat bangs against the gate on the stairs to my room. He wants in, but all he does is fuck around in my room so I don't let him in. It always scares the hell out of me to be sleeping and hear a ridiculous racket. It's really strange how loud my cat can ram his head against the gate. It almost sounds like a human kicking the gate with all their power. It is possible this is what caused this to happen, or at least helped it along. My friend had a similar experience like this a few months ago. His was much, much worse. He was actually so scared that he jumped out his second-story window, ran off the room, and landed on the ground, scaled his barbed wire fence, and ran a half-mile down the road while sleeping. So when people say, "Derp, I had a really crazy sleepwalking experience. I changed my pillowcase. Isn't that nuts?" All I can do is shake my head.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, see, this one, it's like, this one sounds more believable, because, like I was saying, he didn't mention, like, specific details. He guesstimated a lot of stuff, like 3 to 4 a.m.
Yeah, he acknowledged it wasn't real. He kind of, like, he knew it was from his imagination, because he had the, like, reference plate from, like, Alien and stuff like that. The only, like, thing that kind of pushes it a little bit more for me is, that his friend had a similar experience. Like, for me, I don't really feel like anybody that I know closely, aside from, like, maybe you, like doesn't just make up shit like while we're talking about a subject. Because if someone tells me like, oh, I went to like Disneyland, I'm not gonna make shit up and be like, oh yeah, I've been to Disneyland too. I've never fucking been to Disneyland. But like a lot of people are kind of making up shit like this, and like Reddit is like a really good place to try out your writing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which is probably the good majority of these stories is people practicing writing horror.
It's where a lot of like creepy pastas take form and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, they all practice here because it's a good platform to get a lot of people to read your content.
Yeah, either this or like 4chan, like the back rooms off of 4chan. Holy fuck. We should do one on the back rooms. I know there's not much to pull from, but just like a rambling session about the back rooms. But yeah, this one did seem a little bit more sincere, especially him kind of being like shitting on people that are just like, oh, I slept, I talk in my sleep or I do this, just kind of sharing with the story. I do kind of believe that would kind of piss me off too.
Yeah, and the other thing that's interesting about this one is when he first starts talking about it, like something sitting on his chest, it's actually like a combination of sleep paralysis. But it's like he woke up from a sleep paralysis episode and it turned into a kind of a night terror.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I would say that doesn't qualify it as much of a night terror is that he woke up, like flung it off of his sheets and everything, kind of got it away from him, then ran out of the room, and then after that it just ended. Like, so I don't know. I mean, usually night terrors kind of qualify as like an unending nightmare, and then eventually you wake up and don't really remember much about it. So
yeah, because like it immediately goes into the traumatic section of your brain where you're just like, nope, not remembering that shit.
Yeah. And that's going to kind of bring us to the talking about like personal experiences with night terrors. And like I was saying, for one, Kira has these quite often. Kira is my daughter. Yeah, I mean, it sucks because it's rough, and I don't know what to do to help her because she won't go to sleep without having a tablet or whatever. So, and I know, like we were talking about, that's playing a factor into her probably having these. But she won't go to sleep if we don't put TV on or if we don't give her a phone or a tablet or whatever. So, I mean, it's pretty tough to like try to find a way to combat it, but it's like, yeah, almost every other night she's probably waking up screaming about something or crying in the night, and it's like, damn, I just wish I could help her. And it sucks too because we always try to like talk to her and see like what it could be, like what she's scared of, and she can't really communicate very well because she's only going on 3, so it's like she can talk obviously, but she can't really tell us like what she was dreaming about or anything. So I don't know, that sucks.
What about
does Lily get any night terrors?
Yeah, she does. Not that often. I think the most recent one was that she had a night terror about robots, and which is really weird because she fucking loves robots. So, because like I always attributed like my night terrors when I was younger, like movies I was exposed to. Like I would walk in like I've brought this up so many times, but like I've walked into the room and my mom was watching The Ring, and like a couple of times like The Grudge or fucking Nightmare on Elm Street and shit like that. The worst nightmare I've ever fucking had. Looking back on it now, it wasn't that scary, but like at the time I was fucking terrified. I was literally I must have been like fucking like 2 or 3 because my dream I was in a crib, and I remember this very distinctly. I was in a crib, and literally Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and like I think Ghostface, like from Scream, and like a couple of like other like ones that I don't really remember, but they were all just looking down in my fucking crib, and I was fucking terrified, and like that's probably like the fucking worst nightmare I've ever had. However, like as an adult, I can be like, okay, well, it's just because I was exposed to like horror movies and stuff as a little kid. However, Lily is not very exposed to any sort of horror movies. I think like the worst she sees is the video games I play, and I don't really play like horror games very often in front of her or watch horror movies very often in front of her. Like fuck, I don't even remember like the last game I played that was like particularly scary. Like maybe Phasmophobia, and that one's not even like very visual. It's just like more like darkness kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like it's just the fact that she had a night terror about robots, where the only drawing that she can get that from is like YouTube videos about like songs about robots and let's build a robot, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
you know exactly the fucking song I'm talking about.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's just the fact that like her little mind can warp that into being something terrifying. That it just seems like it's something that's unavoidable. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And there's not much you can really do about it except just fucking be there to hug her and kiss her and stuff like that whenever she gets out of it. Um, but as far as us, as adults or our own experiences, I already referenced one. That was the worst one I ever had. Um, but I had, I guess this wouldn't really qualify as a night terror, but I have definitely woken up a lot of times crying or, like, kind of like, whining, like being like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I
like,
think that qualifies as a night terror.
but like some of the time, I think the one time I remember like waking up crying. I do remember the dream. I'm not going to talk about it because it's very personal. But other times, like I'll wake up like in sweats. That's the one like the times that I don't remember them is when I'm waking up sweats. But I don't wake up like screaming or crying or anything. I wake up fucking drenched in sweat though. However, I'm overweight, so like I could just be fat.
Like, maybe it's just hot in there. I don't know.
But as of like recently, I haven't had any night terrors. I usually have black dreams. So, what about you? When's the last, or rather, what's the most memorable night terror you've ever had?
Yeah, I mean, like, I know I was talking about it earlier, like, I had all sorts of sleeping disorders. And there is like, I used to sleep talk a lot, and I think that kind of plays into some of the night terrors. Um, Most of the time when I would sleep talk, they weren't night terrors, but the one that I remember was one that mom was telling me about. And I guess it was when I was young, I was like crying so bad, and I was so set for some reason on crying about something about music. And I know that doesn't sound particularly scary, but obviously I was distressed about it, so I think it counts as like a night terror. Because she just said there was no music. She didn't know what I was talking about. So I was just basically having some weird fit over nothing. Which is like, obviously what night terrors, for the most part, is. You're like acting out something and freaking out about something that nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
The other one I actually just had more recently. I think it was like last week. And it was weird because it was like it almost just felt like I was just laying there and like I had just woken up in the middle of the night. And I was looking at my doorway and it was just like somebody ran past it real quick. I just saw a shadow run past. And I was like, what the fuck? So it alerted me. And I was like, what the fuck was that? But me living with roommates, my brain was just like, oh, it's probably one of my roommates. But I kept staring at the door and I just immediately started feeling like terrified. And I was like, what the fuck? And then the next thing I know, it popped back into the doorway and fucking threw something at me. And I like ducked and I could hear it. Like I fucking feel it and hear it, like feel the wind and hear it go over my head, like whatever it was it threw at me. And I was like, what the fuck? And the instant it threw whatever it threw at me and I ducked, I saw it just dart into the room and just go under the bed. And I remember I like bolted up and like was looking where the wall in my bed meet, like looking in between that crack. And I just started yelling at it. I was like, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of my room. And I remember like in the dream, I was just like, I grabbed in between the wall and the bed and I was like trying to grab it and pull it out. And I was like wrestling it out. And I don't really remember much else other than that. Like, I don't know if I just like, obviously with dreams, they can just abruptly end. And I don't know if I was acting that out or anything, but I know that the other day me and Crystal were talking and she was saying like, oh, were you dreaming about something really bad the other night? And I was like, oh, I don't know why. And she was like, yeah, because you like mumbled and were like moving in your sleep and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, really? And so like, I don't know. I feel like for me that qualifies as a night terror too, because I must have been trying to act it out in some way.
Yeah.
And just like the stories that we heard and stuff like that, it was really like it felt like I was awake. That whole dream, it really felt like I was awake. Like I didn't feel like I was sleeping. I, in my mind, thought I was awake. So I don't know. That's like my most recent memory of doing it or having a night terror. I know it's not the most gripping tale, but I can't really remember any other ones from childhood. And obviously, from what we read, you're not really supposed to remember them. So that's probably why.
Yeah. I mean, I've had like dreams where I flail in my sleep and stuff, but I always usually remember what they are. So I guess they might not qualify. But I don't know. Does that wrap it up for you for the personal experiences, or?
Yeah, because I can't really think of anything else. Like I said, I've had a lot of other like sleeping disorders, but I mean, most of it's kind of, not super interesting. It's just good to know. I think that I used to have a lot of them. Now, luckily, I don't experience it too much other than the one I just talked about. But most of the time, yeah, it's just black when I sleep. Just nothing but darkness.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, guys, that's going to lead us into Tipplers. Take 2.
Come on. So what's holding everything up here?
Art department.
So the grips are holding us back?
All right, try that take one more time.
1 second.
Hey, quiet on the set!
Tipplers take 2. Mark.
Action!
All right. So movies about night terrors, sleep paralysis, and pretty much the whole fucking reason that Nightmare on Elm Street exists. Of course, that's one of them, but we're going to start by at the top of the list, which is a movie called Before I Wake. I've never seen this movie before, so Chris, if you could take it away.
Yeah, I've watched it, but I just don't remember all that much about it, but I remembered enough to put it on the list. Yeah, and it's just basically about some kid. He's like, I don't remember exactly why, and I guess it's probably good because you'll probably want to watch it for yourself. But everything that he dreams becomes like reality, and eventually it takes like a horror turn, and he dreams up some sort of like creature that becomes real. And yeah, I remember the movie being okay. It has some like kind of shitty CGI moments, but other than that, it was kind of interesting. And I don't remember who the actor is, but I know there's a good actor in there. I just can't remember who it is. I want to say it's like Thomas Jane or somebody like that, the guy who was in the original Punisher movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I don't remember too much about it, but I do remember it was pretty interesting, like with the way that he would, dream shit up and stuff. And there were some creepy moments, if I can remember correctly. But I don't know. It's on Netflix. You can check it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and of course, Nightmare on Elm Street. It stars people. I feel bad because I never remember the actor that plays Freddy Krueger. But he's
it's
super.
What's his name? Robert Englund.
Yeah, Robert Englund. There you go. He's of course fucking super famous amongst horror fans, and it was also one of the, if not the debut movies for Johnny Depp. So thank you, Nightmare on Elm Street, for Johnny Depp, because he's probably one of the greatest actors of our generation. Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, has the idea of falling asleep, you die in your dream because Freddy Krueger will fucking come and kill you. And, of course, there's more lore into it and stuff like that, but it is one of the cult classic favorite fucking horror movie films of all time, and for good reason. Even to warrant a okay remaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, starring Chris fucking Rorschach actor. God damn it.
Yeah, I actually can't remember his name off the top of my head.
He's a great actor. He didn't do a bad job playing
something Haley. I don't remember. Jack Earl Haley. Is that right?
Jackie Earl Haley. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't do a bad job playing it. It was just the story was, yeah. But then again, it didn't really like take away from the original movie either. The original movie was literally just supposed to be scary, kind of like, certain movies shouldn't be any more than they actually are. Nightmare on Elm Street is just about people getting killed in their sleep. You don't really need a story.
Yeah.
You just need a loose story. Of course, another one is Inception, directed by Christopher Nolan and written by Christopher Nolan, starring what the fuck is his name? Not Leon. I know Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm also remembering other names. Tom Hardy, and he's like one of my favorite actors. Son of a bitch.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Thank you, motherfucker. I feel bad because I love him.
I was gonna wait, but
yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Elliot Page. Back then it was Ellie Page. But great fucking movie. Me and Chris both suck fucking Christopher Nolan's dick hard. I haven't seen Tenet yet, but I'm going to fucking see it soon because son of a bitch. But yeah, Inception, still great. The only thing I didn't like about this movie is the people that didn't understand it when they watched it. That was it.
Yeah, for real. That's about the only thing I don't like about it, is like having to have that talk with people where they're like, oh, it's just too convoluted and I didn't understand this. And like, fucking pay attention, watch it. It's really not that difficult.
Yeah, I don't know. We've mentioned Christopher Nolan so many times on here. Inception is an automatic 10 out of 10. So if you haven't seen it already, go fucking watch Inception. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the reason I included it on here is just mainly due to the fact that like he'll have those moments where he imagines his wife in it. I don't want to spoil too much, but she ends up causing the dream sequences to go awry. So that's why I think it plays into the episode very well. So it has to do with dreams, and she fucks him up, and it causes chaos.
Yeah. Dreamscape, don't know what that is. It sounds stupid.
Yeah, it kind of is. I just remembered it because it's like an older movie that my dad showed me with like Dennis Quaid. I can't even remember exactly what it's about. It's something with him. He's like some sort of psychic or something, I want to say. And he's like offered to go into some sort of dream program from the government, but it turns out they're like trying to assassinate people through dreams. All I remember is it's really fucking weird, has like really nightmarish type sequences in it. And I don't know. I mean, like it fit the bill for the episode. I feel like it's really fucking weird, and it's old school weird. So it's always like a bonus sometimes. I don't know. I don't remember it being particularly good, but you can try to check it out.
Yeah. Another one is Vanilla Sky that stars Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, I believe. And yeah, Cameron Diaz. She plays like the girlfriend or psycho girlfriend.
Oh yeah, she's like one of the crazy ones. Yeah.
Vanilla Sky. I remember it being good, but
I liked it.
But I feel like a lot of people don't like that movie. It's a mixture of dreaming, I guess, because it's more like he is in a fabricated reality, almost like The Matrix.
Yeah, that's like I'm like I wanted to put it on here, but it also kind of spoils the ending too, because it basically just turns out he's like in a simulation of sorts. It's not necessarily a simulation, but it's like he's in a dream sequence.
Oh yeah, isn't it like stasis or something?
Yeah. He's just basically trapped in his own mind, but I guess it does still pertain to dreaming, because a lot of shit he dreams about in his dream is all fucked up, and I guess it's because the system that they put him in malfunctioned.
Yeah.
And you don't find out all of that until the ending, so sorry to spoil it, but it's been out since like the fucking 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good movie as far as
it's a good movie, and the horror aspect of it is more like realistic situations get messed up, and I think that applies.
Yeah, like he has like a Phantom of the Opera kind of scene where his face gets all fucked up and shit, and that's because I think Cameron Diaz like goes all fucking crazy on him and like drives his car off a cliff.
Yeah, he gets into a car accident. Yeah,
yeah.
And his face gets all disfigured.
One of the honorable mentions, it's Hereditary. We love this movie, but I don't know why it's on this list because I don't remember any dream sequences from this.
Yeah, the reason I actually put it on here is, if you recall in the movie, there's some sequences where she is sleepwalking.
Okay.
And like one of them, she even talks about how she like drenched herself in paint thinner.
Yeah.
And was gonna light themselves on fire and shit.
Oh yeah. That's right. Because her son like hated her for that or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah. And this is actually some stuff that I wish we would have had more time to talk about. There's some actual instances of people doing like fucked up things like that while sleepwalking. Like I was watching like a forensics files or something where the guy actually murdered his wife in his sleep, and they eventually like determined that he really was asleep while he killed her.
Yeah, that's fucked
And he
up.
did like all sorts of stuff, like he killed her, hid the body, all sorts of stuff like that. But they like eventually were just like, I think he really was asleep.
That's fucking insane. Another honorable mention is The Cell. I don't remember I remember watching it. I don't remember it fucking at all though. Chris, if you could take this away as well.
Yeah. Another one kind of along the same lines of like Inception, Dreamscape, Vanilla Sky. Doesn't so much necessarily have to do with dreaming, but like sort of, well, I exclude Inception. Inception is dreaming, but it has to do with like being inside another person's mind. But I will say it's more of like a dream-like state. And this one is more of a horror movie, by the way. So if you're looking for like an older horror movie, might not be for everybody. And by the way, it has Jennifer Lopez in it, so you know, take it with a grain of salt. But I do remember it being pretty good. I haven't seen it in years. But there are some creepy things that happen when she's inside, because she basically is a detective and is trying to find this boy that's missing, and to do that she has to go inside the killer's mind. And being inside a killer's mind is obviously not a great thing. He's all sorts of demented, so she sees all sorts of demented shit. And yeah, I just thought it was a good one to put on here as an honorable mention because it's pretty fucking weird and has to deal with like dream-like stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. There is a video game that I can't remember the name of that pretty much is the same fucking thing. What is it? God damn it. I can't remember the fucking name of it. It's a Japanese game. You go into like the mindscape of like basically like a psychopath and shit like that. And it's pretty much the same thing. I feel so bad for not remembering it, but I remembered it right now, thinking that I would remember it by the time I said it. I feel bad. Whatever. It's fine. It's the end of the segment anyway. Fuck it. That is all for today's Tipplers Take Two.
And cut.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.
Sleep paralysis demons and night terrors, where you scratch your face off. We hope you enjoyed talking about these terrifying things that can happen when you sleep. I know I did. If you did enjoy the episode, please consider subscribing to the show and leave a review if possible. We would also like to ask that you help spread the word by recommending the show to any family or friends that might be interested. You can let them know that they can catch a new episode every other Monday on pretty much all listening platforms like Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, iHeartRadio, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, and if you like the show so much that if you wish to help us out even more, please check out our merch store at represent.com/store/Tipplers 2 cents and pick yourself up a t-shirt. If you want to get a hold of us, you can also contact us at tipplers2centspodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where you can message us as well as stay up to date with the show.
Please remember to stay tuned for our new show, Cinematography, where Sean and I get to talk about all things cinema. The show premieres next Monday, so from when you hear this episode, hopefully you're hearing it when it premieres. Anyways, we will see you as we sleepwalk into a dark room where we are all sharing the same night terror as the sleep paralysis demons slowly lurk towards us to feast upon our innocent, immortal souls. Or maybe we'll just catch you next time on Tipplers 2 Cents. Sweet dreams.
Remember to drink responsibly and think responsibly. Bye.